I've read over 30 self-improvement books in the past year. In this video, I'm going to give you some key lessons that I've learned from each book that changed my life and will change yours too. The first book we'll be talking about is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. Starting off with a banger, the first lesson that I learned from this book is fault versus responsibility. Life is throwing curveballs at us all the time, and we can't control what comes at us, but we can control how we act. The author Mark Manson makes it clear that the cards you've been dealt and the circumstances that you face every single day are not your fault, but they are your responsibility. It is your responsibility to deal with these challenges instead of pitying yourself. Transition out of this victimhood mindset of, why does this always happen to me? Instead, you need to take responsibility for your life, because at the end of the day, only you can save yourself. I can't, your family can't, only you can. And once you realize this, you'll truly become a different person. Another thing that Mark talks about is choosing your fucks wisely. This concept revolves around the fact that we have limited time and energy, so we must be selective about what we choose to care about. Acknowledge that some things are just out of your control, and there's no need to stress about it because you can't change it. Focus on what truly matters to you. Your relationships, your health, whatever it may be, that is where you direct your fucks. In other words, don't get yourself worked up about the things that won't matter in a few days or a few months. Don't get yourself angry at the traffic that day or the bad grade you got on your report card. These things won't hold power in the future, so don't let them affect your present. The next book is by the man himself, David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me. The first thing he talks about is the accountability mirror. The accountability mirror is a daily reflection where you honestly look at yourself and evaluate your goals and how you can change for the better. I personally do this with a whiteboard instead of a mirror. It's such a simple exercise, yet honestly it changed my whole life. Okay, now write down some daily habits that you wish to achieve. These will align with your goals. For example, meditation, working out, and reading. However, yours will probably be different dependent on what you want to achieve. At the end of every day, tick it off if you performed the habit, and if you didn't, either leave it blank or X. At the end of the week, take a progress picture and review how many habits were ticked off and how many weren't. It's honestly like a little game for yourself, but it holds you accountable. The next thing David talks about is callousing the mind. The human mind and body is so much stronger than people believe it to be. Limited mindsets and self-doubt has infested today's society, leading to a lot of mental health issues and overall lack of self-confidence. By embracing discomfort and pushing through pain, you build mental toughness, allowing you to face life's chaotic challenges. Do things purposefully that are out of your comfort zone, because it's a great way to callous your mind. It can be as small as taking a cold shower, or going for that run that you didn't want to go on, or taking that job interview because you felt comfortable at your job. These things may feel painful at the time, but in the long term, they're probably beneficial to you. So next time you're faced with something that's a bit out of your comfort zone, try and face it and see what happens. Moving on to Atomic Habits by James Clear. Don't get me started on this book, man. It is honestly one of the best books I have ever read in my whole life. That being said, one of the biggest lessons that I learned was the power of small changes. Most people think change takes a big action, unrelenting motivation, and sheer determination. But I'm here to tell you that that's false. Motivation fades and people are stripped back to their core behaviors. Small, consistent change is what makes the most difference. That word consistent is the key to all of this, but we'll talk more about that later in this video. If you aim to better yourself by only 1% every single day, by doing small things like reading a page from a book or working out for 15 minutes, at the end of the year, you'll be 37 times better than you were last year. This shows how powerful consistency is, but you must have the right habits to back it, because if you don't, then you'll just become exponentially worse. 48% of your day-to-day behavior is subconscious, meaning you're not even aware of it. This means your quality of life is an automatic response based off your previous habits. The fact that this video got recommended to you is a direct reflection of your content watching habits. If you instead rely on the positive habits that you've built over time, then your life will be considerably improved, because then you don't have to rely on that random burst of motivation that you suddenly get at 3 a.m. The hack to creating these positive habits is habit loops, and you must understand the cue, craving, response, and reward sequence. Essentially, the cue is the trigger that initiates the habit. For example, you get a notification on your phone and it triggers your brain to start a behavior because it predicts a reward. The craving is the motivational force behind this habit. it. It's the desire for the change in state that the action delivers. In this scenario, it's that precious dopamine that you'll receive once you check your phone. The response is the actual behavior being performed. In this example, it's the act of you actually checking your phone. And finally, the reward is the end goal of the habit loop. It's the positive reinforcement that follows the behavior and satisfies the craving. You see that message from your friends and the dopamine hits because your brain is one big supercomputer and you've now programmed it to behave like this. That is a pretty basic example of a habit loop, but examples like these happen hundreds of times a day unconsciously without you even knowing it. In order to break these habit loops, you must first be conscious of your actions, which is hard for many people. Simply put, you need to change or avoid the cue. For example, turning off your notifications or leaving your phone in another room. Modify the response by switching the bad habit out with a good one. And finally, find a different way to achieve the same reward. The next book we'll be covering is The Psychology of Money and the Power of Compounding. The compounding effect is a phenomenon that we see throughout all the lanes of life. However, it is seen most in money. Here's a quick example of the power of compounding. If you invested $1,000 today at 12% annual return for 10 years, you would have only earned $3,105. However, if you invested that same $1,000 at 12% for 60 years, you would have earned almost $900,000. This exponential bell curve can be observed when learning new things, building your physique, and of course investing money and time. The key lesson hidden away in that is continue to do what you're doing. Be consistent and don't expect results right away because they will come and it will be exponential. And that's why Albert Einstein said compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. And finally, I Don't Want to Grow Up by Scott Stillman. I haven't seen this book talked about a lot online, but it was an amazing read and it changed my mindset on many things. The central idea of this book is living the life that you want to on your own terms. And I think that's definitely a big problem in today's society where people live the life that others want them to and they don't actually follow their own dreams. In the book, Scott talks about how important gratitude is and how you attract what you put back into the universe. Once you know what you want and you can visualize it, it's only a matter of time before you receive it, as long as you're putting action towards that goal. I used to think money was my motivating factor, but this book made me realize that it's definitely not money. It's lifestyle and freedom. Freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want. We have a very short time on this planet, so don't live a life that someone else wants you to live. Figure out what you want to do and do it. These are just a few takeaways from each book. There's so much more that I didn't cover in this video, so definitely read them for yourself. I've linked the books in the description for you guys, and if you've gotten this far, comment what your favorite book is. Thanks for watching. Peace.